Welcome to the program, Your Health Matters. This is where we discuss health matters that matter to you. And I trust that you had a great week. The past few weeks have been very interesting, discussing healthy lifestyles. And tonight is not an exception. Uh, you will just tell by our discussion tonight. Our guest tonight is Elder Itumabuye, and I want to thank you, my elder, for joining us. Welcome aboard to the program, Your Health Matters.
Thank you so much, my pastor.
Yes. Well, tonight we are discussing a very interesting subject, and the title of our discussion is 7 Dimensions of Wellness. Hey, when I think about this, I said 7 dimensions. I thought if I don't have pain, if I don't have to go to the doctor, then, it's all systems go. So we're talking 7 dimensions here, my elder.
Yeah, we're doing all these points, which are very key and critical to one's definition of what wellness is. Very important topic.
Very good.
And I think it's coming at the right time that we can discuss this.
Yeah. Yes. No, great stuff. So what are these 7 dimensions? I don't know if you have something you want to share on the screen.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I think you can do that. You should be able to share now.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm just sharing now.
Yes.
I think it should go now. Yes. So there's 7 points or dimensions of wellness. As follows: the mental wellness, the emotional wellness, the social wellness, environmental wellness, occupational wellness, which is very uncommon, and we never think that we need this occupational wellness. There's also the physical wellness and spiritual wellness. So those are the 7 points that we'll be discussing this evening.
Great stuff. So maybe let's begin with the first one, the mental wellness. We have had a discussion about mental health, and because look, this is a very critical aspect of a human being, and a lot of times we ignore the mental health, and we think sometimes it doesn't even form part of the definition of wellness. So what are we talking about tonight about this mental wellness?
Yeah, thanks so much, my pastor. Maybe if you could allow me for a second to go back to this definition by WHO, what the wellness is. It says here is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And I think it's important that we have this at the back of our minds, and that whatever that we are going to discuss and try to define and explain what each dimension means and what it's about and how does it relate to our wellness in totality. We remember this last point, that it is not merely the absence of disease, the fact that you don't feel the pain, as you said, the fact that you have not exhibited some symptoms of some kind of a disease does not necessarily mean you are well. There are dimensions, and these are the 7 dimensions that we're talking about, that completes one's wellness. And coming to the verse, which I thought I must also share, 3 John, 2, which is a very common verse when we talk about the issues of health. It says here, "Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things, so prospers. As we pray and develop ourselves spiritually, it's important that we may also know and remember to take care of the other aspects of our wellness, which are the 7 points that we'll be discussing right now. And let's talk about the first one, my pastor, mental wellness. And what is this? What is the mental wellness? I'll read something very quickly now. It says here, it is a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities. Let's stop right there.
Yeah.
Too many people are stressed out simply because they fail to acknowledge and recognize their own potential, their own talents, their own giftedness. And we've got too many people who are more in competition rather than in complementing one another.
Yeah.
We are losing our minds because we're looking outside ourselves for things that others have that we think we don't have. And I want us to understand one thing, that it is not about what we don't have, it is about what we already have. And the moment there is too much competition, you know, we lose our mental wellness. So that's the first point, defining what mental wellness is. The second point is that individual must be in a position to cope with the normal stresses of life. Normal stresses of life, you know. I mean, stress will always come.
Yes.
And it is not an issue that we get stressed. The issue is, are you able to cope with the stresses that come your way from work, from home, in your relationship, in your finances, with your kids and so on? Are you able to cope? So a person who is mentally well, number one, they must be in a position to do what? To acknowledge that I may not have what my friend have, but I have what God has given me. And instead of worrying about what I don't have, let me get concerned and look within and develop what I already have in order to get what I don't have. And the second thing is, they must be in a position to cope with the normal stresses of life. And thirdly, which is also important, they must be in a position to cope or work productively and fruitfully.
Yes.
And make a contribution in their own communities. Yeah. So basically, that's what mental wellness is, you know, in a nutshell. You know, it encompasses a number of things. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, you're mentioning something of great importance here that I don't want us to overlook. We cannot overstress it also, and that is the issue of acknowledging what you have.
Yeah.
Do we all have something?
We all have something. Remember the Shunammite woman. Was it that woman who said, I don't have anything? Yeah, I don't have anything. She says, I'm left with my kids. My husband is dead.
Yeah.
And the creditor is coming to take even my kids. And she says, look, and the prophet says, what do you have in your house? That's an important question.
Yes.
That no one should be asking, but we should ask ourselves, what is it that I have in my own house? Because the truth is, there is always something that you have when you think you have nothing.
Yeah. So in other words, as we may be going through some form of mental challenges, stress.
Yeah.
This is a fundamental question that each person must ask.
It's a question of hope. It's a question of hope.
Yeah.
And when you think you have exhausted all the means, you have tried it all, and you think there is nothing, there's always something.
Wow.
There's always something. And look at this woman, what happened to her. She says, say, I have nothing except
this thing.
So it sort out the fact that he has nothing.
Yes.
Except the jar of oil.
Hmm.
And sometimes we need the emptiness in our lives so as to realize the fullness God has brought into our lives.
You know, as you speak like this, I am also reminded about creation. You know,
Yeah.
the Bible says, Genesis 1:26-28, that God created, you know, men, and then God says to them, look, go and have dominion over every creature and in the sea. Now, when you look at this word dominion, which means authority over,
That's right.
in simpler terms, God was saying to them, go and lead out there. In other words, I've put something to, I've capacitated you to be able to do this thing that I want you to do.
Yeah.
So when God says, when in this case, then we're talking about mental wellness. So God has capacitated, can we say that tonight, that we have capacity to be mentally well?
I'm telling you, we have it. We have it. It's within us. God has made us in such a way that we should be in a position to survive through the storms of life, no matter what. There's always something within us. And when you check Adam and Eve, God says you have the authority, go out there. You have the authority, got the dominion, you know, over all these creatures. They had not obtained even a degree at that time, but God said to them, you have dominion. So it is not what we don't have, what we have not accomplished. It is what has been given to us that matters. Tap into that, make the most out of it, accomplish and flourish.
Wow. Thank you. Thanks, Maela. So to our viewers, so we are saying so far that in whatever you may be going through tonight with your health, for example, don't look too much outside of you. Look at what God has blessed you with and build from there. And build it from there. Okay, great stuff. Great stuff. Now we've got the second one now, the emotional wellness. Hey, I'm quite interested on this one. Talk to me about this emotional wellness.
Emotional wellness is closely linked to the mental wellness. You can't talk about emotional wellness in isolation, you know. So emotional wellness, it is how we successfully cope, you know, with the issues that come our way. How we successfully cope, how we successfully made it through the failures of life. And we need to come to a point where we understand that when we seem to be failing in life in one area or another, we do not become failures.
In all other areas.
So we remain who we are.
Yes.
We remain who we are in spite of our failures. When we have failed in life, it does not change the person God has made in us. It is in spite of whether he has failed grade 12.
Yes.
I'm not a failure.
Yes.
Failure is a process, not a person.
And
therefore, yes, go ahead, Mike.
And even in that failure, whatever that failure is, that failure is not fatal.
It's not fatal. It's not fatal. Yeah. There's too many lessons one can deduce from the failures in our lives.
Yes.
And one was saying, there's a book by John Maxwell where he says, sometimes we win and sometimes we learn. We don't lose.
Yes.
We learn. There's always an opportunity to learn.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that brings emotional wellness. The moment you understand that my failures are an opportunity for me to learn one or two things that I never knew before, then you will have peace emotionally.
Yes. Uh,
Yeah.
so what makes a big difference here is how you define what's happening in your life. And I like what you are saying, that instead of saying, I have failed, you should be saying, I have learned.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. It was just an obstacle.
Yes.
Yeah, it was just an obstacle. And to convert that obstacle into an opportunity and an environment to learn.
Hmm.
And we grow from the challenges, but
Hmm.
challenges that we overcome.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
Yeah.
So perspective is everything here. If we then define the challenge that we are facing as a failure, we are taking away the hope that we already had in the mental wellness.
That's powerful.
Hmm.
Exactly that, my elder.
Hmm. So we may,
Exactly that.
we may then end up having with double jeopardy. Now you have issues emotionally, but you have a different perspective that affects your mental wellness, and both of them,
Yeah.
they come tumbling down.
They come crumbling down.
Hmm.
And you end up becoming a failure yourself. You fail yourself by not admitting to the fact that there are things that will come your way that are beyond your control. And
Yeah.
instead of focusing on what you have no control over, focus on what you can control. Can I say something to you, Elder, and the viewers here? 70% of the things that happen to us are within our control. Only 30% is genetic. We have no control over it.
Wow.
Excel in what you can control and leave the rest. Stop
Yeah.
stressing over things that you have no control over. If somebody comes, they say, you know what, I'm dumping you, and you have no control over it,
That's correct.
but you have
That's
control over what you think and how
yeah.
you want to feel about the situation.
Yeah.
Not because you are denying the bad that has happened to you, you are admitting to it, accepting, the responsibility. Never run away from the responsibility and find ways of forging ahead in spite of it all.
Mm, So in other words, I want to piggyback on this example you were using, and that is, this person has been dumped. You can always begin anew.
You can always begin anew.
Mm,
God is always on our side. God is always in our favor. When nothing seems to be working, the chances are God is working out something even much more powerful and better for you.
wow, that's powerful. Because
Stop
really,
knocking at the wrong doors that are closed.
uh, so because sometimes uh, uh, without maybe us realizing that some company that we keep make our path of life to be cloudy. So
Ah,
it is when some of this company, when we have parted with this company, then we realize that, wow, the journey of life can be that clear and beneficial.
amen.
Mm.
Amen. You are actually touching on what I'll be discussing shortly when we talk about the social wellness. I'm not sure if you would allow me just to go there right away.
Please go there. Please go there.
If all these points are linked one to another, don't
Yes.
worry, my elder.
I can see.
So speaking about social wellness, which also comes, directly from the mental wellness, emotional wellness. You can never have social wellness unless, number one, you are mentally well, emotionally well. It never happens. It never happens, my elder. It never happens. Most of those people with personality issues,
Yes.
it's as a result of some of these challenges that they are going through mentally and emotionally. And because they are angry within, because they are sad, because they are frustrated, because they are stressed out and even depressed, they project the same on the people around them.
Yes.
Yes, and you wonder why a person has a problem with each and every other person that they meet.
Yes.
The problem is not the people, it is the person. Because they are not dealing with some with issues that are underlying, within.
Yes.
They are avoiding, and as a result, when they meet with people, they best on people. They can't respond, they can't speak well, they can't deal well with the right people, with the people.
Wow. And I see the link in in clearer tones as you speak of all these concepts, because if you are emotionally matured, and that sets you up well for your social wellness.
I'm telling you, it impacts your mental wellness, impacts directly on your social wellness.
So going
when
back,
you are emotional, yes.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish.
Go ahead, my pastor.
Yeah.
No, I was saying, if you are emotionally and mentally unstable, you are likely to be socially unwell. In dealing with your partners, your spouse, and so on. These things can always be traced back to your mental wellness, to your emotional wellness. Things occurred and you never dealt with them. And they have a way of coming out even at adulthood.
Oh, this is powerful.
Deal with issues. Yes.
Because when we go back, we're just doing linkages here. When we're going back, you right from the beginning, you have done your acknowledgement of what you have. Because this is an exercise on its own now, because you want to conscientize yourself. That as much as I have lost a relationship, for example, it does not mean I don't have assets that are needed to be socially well. And as I look at myself and accept the things that God has given me, even though they may not be as many as that I see in other people, but I'm equipped enough to be able.
I'm sufficient.
Yes. And that on its own, therefore, spills to your emotional life, because now, instead of being unstable, you begin to tap into your emotions well, realistically, and acknowledge your emotions. I'm unhappy with this, I'm happy with this, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to throw toys. Social wellness. Because I'm emotionally mature, so I'm able to now play well in the social.
And not take things personal. Not take things personal. That's the issue right there. Need to be mature enough to separate issues. And one of the things, my pastor, that I have also noticed is that too many people, especially men, when they are challenged, they never speak out.
Yes.
And it affects how they relate with their partners, how they relate with their kids, how they relate with their counterparts. because men have come to believe that actually it's the society that has taught us that when you speak out your emotions, it's a sign of weakness, but that's a sign of strength. When a man stands up and he says, you know what, I'm not happy about this, that's a sign of strength. When a man says, I'm angry about this, that's a sign of strength. When a man says, you know what, I feel sad and frustrated today, things didn't go well, that's a sign of strength.
Yes.
And we find healing when we become honest about how we feel, about the issues that affect us. And we
what are some of the
in a
things?
Position to cope well in our relationships as a result.
Yes. What are some of the things
What Mel?
that young people can do on a regular basis that could strengthen them on this social wellness?
Okay.
What some of the habits that would be of benefit there?
That's very powerful. Number one, my pastor, our young people need to know their identity in God. And I want to go back to what you mentioned right in the beginning. God gave Adam and Eve the authority, gave them the dominion over the creatures. And what's amazing is before Adam and Eve were created, God made the entire creation. Towards the end, then God introduces humankind.
Yes.
And he says, whatever that I have made, you may be the last, but you've got the dominion over the first. So we do have the dominion, and we need to understand that where we're coming from, who we are in God.
Now, given what you say, and I love what you say, and this is quite critical, because if that identity is right with God, then you don't have to be trying to fit yourself in spaces of life that you don't belong to, or as if
even prove yourself. There's no need. We don't prove ourselves. We are in God. We have our being in Him.
Yes.
And we can never be shaken.
Yes.
Wow.
Now here is a person, my elder, and he says, look, I realize now that this is my sick part, if I may put it that way, in the 7 dimensions of wellness.
Sure.
I'm taking here socially, maybe my fundamentals, foundations were not right. I'm grown up now, but what is it that I can do to improve my social wellness?
Okay, great stuff. Look deep into your own self. There are things that may have occurred, that may have caused as we started, we spoke more about it. We said there are things that could have happened in your life that you never dealt with, and as a result, they came out into your life even as an adult. That may have happens without a cause. And it's important to always refer back.
Okay.
And be honest with your own self. You thought it would be a stigma you tried, from time to time. So the first point, just to respond to you, is with what happens to you, and try to be as quick as enough as you possibly can to start dealing with those issues, rather than ignore them and think they will deal with themselves. That's not how life works.
Wow, that's powerful stuff. Now someone will just ask a question on our Facebook page. that
Right.
men are told that tigers don't cry. Can this issue
Okay.
of them keeping quiet and not showing how they feel, can it lead to the gender-based violence situation that we're going through today?
That's exactly what's happening, my elder.
Hmm.
Because I mean, I'm looking at my boy who's 6 years. When I grew up, I was told that a boy does not cry, and that was a serious, or even the worst advice that was ever given to me.
Yeah.
Men are human beings and they've got emotions, and they need to be given the space to cry when they need to, because crying brings healing.
Yeah.
And it works for you in the future and also into your relationships and how you cope with the challenges of life later on. And the gender-based violence, the people who are involved in it are the same people who were told to be strong when they needed to show up their emotions. When they needed to cry out, they were told, no, a man does not cry. Those are the same people. And you can even take it further and say our correctional services are full of such men who bottled up their emotions.
Yes.
And when the time came, because you can't contain emotions for too long, there comes a time when they need to come out, and because you have been bottling for too long, you burst and you do things that you wouldn't otherwise do under normal circumstances. You beat women, you beat girls, you do all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And you end up in prison.
So in other words, the culture of, as Nomana Magazi puts it, tigers don't cry, has no room, not only in the Christian world, but in the world at large. Because as you put it correctly, you bottle these things and it's a matter of time. Explosion takes place. And you know, when explosion takes place, even people who are just walking around the street, they get affected. You know, so
My pastor, it has no room.
Now there is a
There's no room. The Bible in John 11:35 says, and sorry, my pastor, I think we've got some instability of the connectivity here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You were saying John 11? Did I lose you?
Yes, so I was quoting John 11:35. It says, and Jesus wept, seen and realized that Lazarus, his friend, was dead. He cried, he wept. We want to teach men how to out the lockdown and to cry out when you need to. It works upon how to teach men on how to cry and express their emotion.
Yes.
Challenge is affecting the churches, it's affecting our homes, it's affecting
All right, I think we lost you there. But to our viewers, whilst we're waiting for it to reconnect, there is a person, Mlinde Lindlovu, is asking for us to define GBV. GBV is gender-based violence. This is something that has been in the forefront of news of late in many parts of the world, but particularly in our country. We have seen this issue of women being abused having now been taken to a higher level, whether they are killed or they are just abused both emotionally and physically. So that's the issue that that we brought into the discussion about gender-based violence. But what we were also talking about, which brought the issue of GBV, is the issue of social wellness. That in the 7 dynamics of wellness, that the social wellness plays a critical role, because this is one of those areas where we can make great relationships or break all the great relationships. Well, both family-wise and also with our girlfriends, boyfriends, spouses, you name it. So relationships matter in a big way in this life. So that's what we have been talking about. Are you back, Maela? So what I want us to do now, I want us to talk about the environment wellness. Do we have you back online? All right. Whilst we're sorting out the glitches there, we were also talking about the issue of the social wellness, but before that, we spoke extensively also about the issue of emotional wellness. You know, this is one area, especially in Black communities, that we seem to ignore in a very big way. And emotions are God-given, and as such, they must be treated in a manner that will be able to benefit, or not only.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Those that we interact
I can
with.
hear you, my
Are you back, Maela? Are you back? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Elda Mabuya, can you hear me? I think we're having a challenge there with connectivity, but let me come back to my point here of emotional wellness. Maybe before I go there, just want to go also back to our Facebook line. Somebody here, Mlindeli, says the most abused gender are males on the 6 wellness parts, but when they act with physical abuse, that is. Can you hear me, my elder? I see you are back now. Can you hear me? Yes. All right. Maybe let me go back to what Lindell was saying here, that the most abused gender are males, but when they react, they counteract with physical abuse, that is killing, etc. Well, I don't know about that, but abuse is abuse regardless of where it comes from and where it's going. It's being meted out. So abuse is not acceptable at all in our society, let alone in the church. All right. I see that Elder Mabuya, you are back. Can you hear me? Elder Mabuya? I can see you. Can you hear me? All right. So I was saying then to Mlindeli that regardless of where the abuse comes from, the thing is, no wrong can be corrected with wrong. We cannot justify abuse under any circumstances. Abuse is very wrong at all costs. In all ways, abuse can never be right. All right, but I don't want us to stay focused on that part, but because we're looking at all these dimensions of wellness. I just want to check again if Elder Mabuya is back. Are you there, Elder Mabuya? I seem to have lost you. And our time is the enemy here. All right. So maybe in the meantime, whilst they are trying to assist us with connectivity, maybe let's review the parts that we have dealt with already. Number one, we spoke about the mental wellness, and as I was listening, one of the things I heard, I understood my guest to be saying, of course, is that it's important for us to have the right perspective of our situation. You know, when we encounter challenges, whatever challenges may be, whether the challenge is health, physical, or whatever, however you want to define it, it's important to keep things into perspective and avoid overwhelming yourself with negativity, with all the blame that you can find in the world, because at the end of the day, you need help. And so you don't find help by putting the blame on whoever, but there should be an introspection that we do. And this is when now in the discussion he was saying, let's take time and acknowledge what we have and see what is it that we have that we can work from, even though we're facing this. What is it that I have? Take stock of what you have and work from there. I see Elamaboya is back. Elamaboya, can you hear me? Please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself. Can you hear me? Elamaboya? Are you there?
Hear you, Pastor. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Let's talk about the environment.
Yes. In mental world, I will also link it up to social wellness. And may
Yeah, that connection is bad today. Can you hear me? I think I lost it. I think I lost you there along the way.
Say, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hello, Maboya, can you hear me? I think we lost you there.